This is Ed Talk number 3, Budget and Finance, featuring School Business Administrator Valerie Wilson with moderator Ali McBride Jr.
Good evening to everyone.
Wait, you're not,
And
no, hold on, I am not there yet. Give me a couple of minutes.
I'm
Hold
sorry.
on.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let me just, I'm entering, get informed with correct information, real information
Mhm.
about the Newark School District budget. Okay, what happened?
It's about the school board members doing.
It's about, oh, okay, no, okay. And so, which is on the ballot? Which is on the ballot? Get the budget.
Oh, it's a public opinion question?
Yeah,
I didn't get my simple ballot. so-
yeah. It's,
Oh, it is.
wow, it's on the, it's
Yes.
on, they're voting for the budget also.
Yes, but
Yes.
you also, you always have to vote the budget question. It's whether or not we're increasing the tax levy or that you're continuing the existing levy. So
Okay.
they must vote for both. They have
Okay,
to vote for the
You gotta
the
explain
budget
that,
itself.
you gotta.
All right, I will. Yeah, there are two things they have to vote. Yes, I will. I'll do that as my closing message. And throughout.
Okay. Get informed with real information about Newark School District budget. And cast your vote. That's corny, but that's what I got. And I want to say, and cast your vote for the budget.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah, I know. Okay, all right. Okay. It's a well, it's not a public opinion per se. Oh, we can. Okay, so I'm just being. My boss is here. My boss Masa is here. She didn't become a Delta, so she bossing people around. So she's telling me I can't say vote for the budget, and cast your vote on April 25th. - 2023. Okay. All right. Anything else, Masa?
No.
You sure? Okay. All right. Going.
Oh, okay.
I'm back on. Good evening, good evening, good evening to everyone. I am your host, Ali McBride. I am the co-chair of the Civic Engagement Committee for the Newark chapter of the NAACP. And we are currently hosting a series of Newark Ed Talks to educate the public on the role of the Newark Board of Education. The topics include education policy, budget and finance, governance, and leadership and community engagement. Tonight's Ed Talk will focus on budget and finance. Now, only 2.87% of Newark's registered voters turned out to vote in the Newark Board of Education in the election of 2022, which is abysmal. The Newark NAACP is leading a Get Out the Vote campaign to help increase awareness of the election, educate residents of the role of the board, and motivate residents to vote on April the 25th. I'll say it again, April the 25th. We look to achieve these goals by taking our message directly to the doors of the Newark residents. Now, the Newark Ed Talks are intended to have a conversation flow like we have in the past that will be prompted by questions. And the level of the conversation is from the point of someone who does not know anything about the Board of Education. We've already had 2 successful episodes, one with Leah Owens, and she talked about the function of the board. And we talked to Kalina Berryman, who actually talked about the community engagement. Tonight, we have a special guest, Ms. Valerie Wilson, has been employed by the Newark Public Schools for the last 21 years. She is currently the district school business administrator and has held that position since 2009. She manages and oversees the district's $1.33 billion budget. In her position, she leads several of the district's major departments that impact students in all schools every day. The departments include food and nutrition services, security, facilities, budget, financial, accounting, accounts payable, and procurement. Every day, she is faced with solving the problems, creating innovative solutions, and ensuring that everyone's needs are met. Valerie approaches her role with humbleness, a willing desire to serve and temper each decision with considering children first. She is direct, focused, and deliberate in performing her job. When asked what she hopes people she has interacted with think of her, she says, "I hope they think that I am direct, firm but fair." These are characteristics that describe her dealing with everyone at all levels and all arenas. Valerie was born in London but grew up in Jamaica. She's a graduate of the City University Systems of New York with a bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics and a master's in operational management from New York University. She's the proud mother of Danielle Wilson, Esquire, a practicing employment lawyer barred in both New York and New Jersey. Her commitment and dedication to Newark is evident in her work, relationships, and her desire to make Newark first always. She lives by her old high school motto, Age Animo Do or Do. You can correct me as soon as I'm finished.
Age Animo.
Okay, say it again.
Age Animo. It's
Age Animo. Age Animo, absolutely. Do it with thy might. She is proud to be accepted as a Newarker. Everybody give a warm welcome to Ms. Valerie Wilson. And how are you?
I am well, thank you, Mr. McBride. Well, just one slight correction. I will be starting my 28th year this June.
Ooh, so we slighted you with 8 years? So we slighted you with about 8 years? I'm sorry, yes. I apologize. And you know what, that counts. That means something, you know, when you put that time in. And, you know, a lot of times people question authenticity. And I don't think anybody can question the authenticity of someone that's been doing this job for over 20 years. So I want to thank you first and foremost. So how are you first and foremost?
I am well, and I'm really pleased to be here. I want to thank President Smith Gregory and you for entertaining us this afternoon, because it's a great opportunity to share with the community what our budget is really about.
Absolutely. And you know, again, that's the reason why we're doing this, to give the voting public, to try to give them a gist of what the Board of Education is. You know, we always hear that, you know, you got the television series, Abbott Elementary, and, you know, they show all the dynamics that go on in the school, but, you know, there are other factors that go into just children going to class. I'll start with our first question. And what is the role of board members as it relates to the budget?
Well, the board its primary role is to, one, hire the superintendent, and two, to develop policy. But with regards to budget, they do have an ability to oversight that budget, to see what's happening, to understand how the district is planning to use the budget to support the goals and initiatives that, you know, they've been presented with. They're told, here are the goals of the district, and we're going to do these things. So they are looking at how the budget ties into that, and they vote to accept the budget and to put it forward for the voters to vote on it on April 25th.
Got you. Can board members make decisions about where funds are allocated?
They don't make decisions, but they make suggestions. So we have a process that we undergo. We have committee meetings every month. When it is budget season, which starts about November and goes through the end of February into the beginning of April, when our budget is finally submitted, the board has a budget committee, a subcommittee of the finance committee, and they meet to discuss the budget. They talk about the kinds of things that we are planning to put in the budget. All year long, we talk about needs in the school, things that are important. Of course, you know, we have 2 board meetings a month where the public comes out and comments. So they have the ability to make suggestions. They are very informed about our strategic plan, so they know the direction we're headed. The board also develops goals for itself, which those goals feed into the budget, and you should see that interlocking occur. So they're very active in the budget process, but it's not as though they tell the district what to do. There's a discussion and suggestions, and you know how this occurs. And we review every single school budget from January through the end of February. We meet with every single school principal. And there's several people in the room, my team, the academic team, and we all come together to ensure that that school is getting all the things it needs, particular to having teachers, having staffing, having money to buy supplies, things of that nature. And we invite board members to sit in at their convenience on some of those sessions. They may not sit in on all, but they can. They're definitely welcome.
So let me ask this question from somebody who's on the outside looking in. Now, with your subcommittee, we know that you have, what, 8 or 9 members of the board, right, that are elected. Now, the subcommittee is how many members of the board are on that subcommittee?
There are 4 members of the board, because, you know, we are governed by the Open Public Meetings Act. So you can never have a quorum together. So those 4 meet on a regular basis as the budget committee. When we get closer to the point in time where we're going to have the budget hearing, which this year was on March 29th, we then meet in groups with the smaller subset, so that before they get to their meeting, they know what is in the final budget submission and discussion. But during the course of time, from December through March, we are having updates to them, whether at our finance committee, which could be another sort of subset of the board, a couple of other members, as well as conversation ongoing with other members who are not part of the budget committee. So we try to ensure that the entire board, while not all together at once, are totally informed about the budget before we get out in public.
Got you. You know, well, how are those subcommittee members chosen? Because I know, you know, one of our questions, and you're probably familiar with it, is should they have some training? Those individuals some training as they deal with the budget. How do they go about making a decision to include, you know, or to actually select those committee members to actually be in the subcommittee? How does that work?
That's been a work in progress. Committees are chosen by,
Okay.
you know, people express an interest in what they're interested in. So you have a finance committee that has the finance chair. So every committee has a chair. We started out a couple of years back where the finance committee became the budget committee. Then we've sort of progressed and moved forward where board members get an opportunity to say, you know, I think I'd like to be on, I may not be on finance this year, but I'd like to be on the budget committee. So there's an interest in
Okay.
finance. Now, you talk about training. That's important. Our board is a highly qualified board. As a matter of fact, it's one of the highest qualified boards in Essex County, okay, as a whole. And our board members have received training. And part of that training they get, whether it's year 1, year 2, year 3, and even year 4, 5, and 6, as they become senior board members, if they come back on the board after that initial term. There's specific training that they receive from New Jersey School Boards Association, right? That provides for all board members across the state. We also provide training for them when they first become a board member. I am available for conversation throughout. Even if you're not on finance, you know, we can talk about it. They have a question, you know, I don't really understand this. How is it that that occurs, you know? And every month they're looking at resolutions for spending. So they see programs that we're putting in place, initiatives that we're putting in place. So it's an ongoing dynamic process, but there's training throughout.
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming. And you know, now that you're saying that, you know, even me, who, you know, I'm actually the commentator sometimes for the board debates or for the discussion, and then I'm thinking, you know, you really want somebody that is not going to be rattled or shaken to participate in that. So, I mean, we're talking about a $1.33 billion budget.
Yes,
which is it's larger than the city of Newark's budget. That's a lot of money.
It is.
It's a lot of gas.
It is. It's the largest school district in the state. It's 38,000 students. It's 6,000 employees. It's 9 unions. It's $1.33 billion budget, and that is our operating budget. You haven't now begun to talk about other grants and other initiatives that we may have going, because as you know, there's quite a bit of federal money that's been put out there as support for coronavirus relief and American Rescue Plan. There are all of those pots of money that have to be managed also. So the board has a large responsibility, and you know, we try to ensure they're as prepped as possible for their meetings. We give them there's a lot of material to read. There's a lot of discussion that goes on. People only see the public meeting and they say, oh, they're not asking questions, but there's been a lot of discussion throughout the course of the month to get to the board meeting.
Got you. So for the most part, board members can't really like specifically make decisions about where funds are allocated. Or they can
make suggestions. So remember, a board member hires the superintendent for the daily operation of the district. So the daily operation, the superintendent recommends to the board what happens. But of course, we take into consideration what the board is saying. You know, okay, there's this program, there's that program. How does this work? How does that work? You know, so there's a lot of conversation that goes on.
Got you. You know, just to let you know that I'm not just willy-nilly everything. I've been looking through this. I know you're probably familiar with that.
Perfect. The strategic plan.
I'm no economist. You know, I can barely budget my banking account, but a lot of a lot of things in here were very interesting. And you know, I'm looking at it, and there's just so much. It's pretty progressive as well too. So I mean, even on the first page, a forward glance to, I guess, for the school year from 2023 to 2024. They talk about the thing. I guess these are goals that they want to reach, like for age 3 to grade 3. You know, initiatives with the ballet, microchip, robotics, swimming, and more. Wraparound services in grade 6 to 9. You know, algebra and 8. How explain that to me a little bit.
Okay. You mean the strategic plan itself, or specifically one of those things you talked about?
The strategic plan itself, because I mean,
okay,
just the fact that swimming was going to be introduced to age 3 to grade 3 kind of pulled me in. You know what I mean? For this,
okay.
I mean that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
So the superintendent has a vision, which we've all been working with, and it is the vision and mission of the district. We want our students to be literate. We want them to be ready for school. So we're starting not just early, but we're starting from conception, right? We're starting with the parents while they're pregnant and expecting and starting to develop the habits. The strategic plan was designed as a roadmap to move us forward. It has very specific priorities and very specific strategies. It also has a timeline, and that timeline goes for 10 years, right? Unheard of typically in schools. Usually it's a 3-year or 5-year strategic plan. We've got an out-year plan for 10. And it is, what is important is your strategic plan is a living, breathing document. It has to be. It has to be one. It doesn't go on the shelf and gather dust. It has to be out there. People must know what's in it. They must know how they fit into it, what is expected of them, etc. And what you should see is if you take that strategic plan and you now take our budget presentation, which is on the website, the budget presentation I did on the 29th of March, it's both on Facebook Live. People can go back and look at it and hear me speak along with the superintendent. And there's actually a document called the budget presentation, which are the slides that we used in our budget presentation. And if you take those slides and you sit with the strategic plan, you should see how they overlap. You should see how they fit together. What investments is the district making to get to where they need to be at this point in time in the strategic plan?
Good.
That's
Thank
how
you.
it all fits and works together. And you know, people, there's a lot of information that floats around, and some of it may not be as accurate as it should be. So I would say to everyone, you want to know about the district's budget, the budget presentation that is on the district website, and what I have said on the Facebook Live session should be your guiding pieces, so that when you vote on April 25th, you vote for the budget. You understand the components of the budget. You understand that, you know, there's a tax levy in the budget. Newarkers pay $138.4 million towards their school district. Now, we talked about the school district is $1.33 billion. That's 14% that Newark is contributing. So people are out there saying, oh, you know, we should cut the taxes, we should this. You're only contributing 14% to your district's budget. The state contributes almost 85%.
Wow.
That dynamic has to change, but it's going to change over time.
Right. Let me ask you this, because the confusion a lot of times from parents, again, going back to what I said initially, is that, you know, people don't really know the functions of a board. And the number one question, because I've asked a few people, what do you think that we should ask? What do you think that we should ask? and I know that it's public information, but it would be official coming from you.
What do we think we should?
The top 3 areas where money is allocated. What are the top 3 areas that money is allocated with the budget?
So like we, you said before that, a district takes a lot to run. You watch Abbott Elementary and you see, the principal, you see the
Do you like
teachers.
Abbott Elementary? Do you like Abbott
Yes,
Elementary?
I do.
I like it too. I didn't think I was gonna like it.
You see the custodian, right?
Yeah.
So you see all of these people and you see the dynamics that goes on, right?
Yeah.
So a district has to run efficiently and effectively, right?
Yeah.
And how it does that is it must have good policy, good, clear, meaningful policy, which is one of the major roles of the board, right? A district must invest in its leadership, right?
Yes.
Not just the superintendent, because the superintendent alone can't run the district.
Not at all.
You need the principals, you need the department people, you need a central office, especially for a district of our size. We have 66 buildings, so you need leadership. And leadership is not just to say, I'm a manager, I'm a director. Leadership goes from everybody all the way through the organization, because everybody at some point is a leader, right?
Yes.
And you need to invest in your academics, right? Everything is about how can I make that experience for the child in the classroom meaningful and effective. So that means it's not just because I answer the phone downtown in central office, oh, I don't have any contact with the schools. Not true.
Right.
How you answer the phone, how you do your job ensures that that teacher can be happy and focused on making sure what needs to happen in the classroom. Because the evidence and the research shows us that at the classroom level, that is where change occurs. So everything we do has to support that change.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I got 2 other questions going to try to squeeze in because we try not to make it too long, but this is important.
Go ahead.
Can parents influence the financial resources allocated to the schools that their children attend?
Yes, we have a process that does that. So once the budget is prepared and the principals have gone through that review, starting in January through February, they are responsible to have community meetings at every single school. We publish the schedule. We give them a script to talk about their budget at the school level. Parents should be going to those meetings, right? And we're going to continue working to make sure people know about them when they come up and that people are attending, because that's where you have that discussion with the principal and to talk about, we're doing this program for after school. We're doing this program for wraparound. We're doing this mentorship program for kids. We're doing, we're having swimming classes. We're doing a read a book a month club. We're doing all of these things. We have monies. How do we invest those monies to make that happen? We take care of the teachers. We take care of the benefits at the district level. We take care of operating the school, all the support things that go into the school, the custodian, the food service, the security. But the principal has control, and we, establish the curriculum. The principal has a pot that they control, and that is where the parents have input.
Yeah, makes sense. I'm former law enforcement, and so I'm always wondering how the schools can be more equitable with security and different things. And I know that takes a lot of money. And I know you have a strategic plan. If I'm not mistaken, I did see that something referring to that in the strategic plan. And I'm being a little selfish. How does that work into the strategic plan? Because, and I'll tell you why I
we,
say that. I'll tell you why I say that. There was an incident that happened a few months ago at Eagle Academy, and somebody had come, and I thought that it was actually an officer from the Newark Police Department, but it was somebody from the security system that Newark had. And he had some other individuals that came and reported as well. And I'll be honest with you, I was really impressed. And I got to talk to the guy a little bit. We chopped it up a little bit, but not much. But I was really impressed. How does that also work into this budget and your strategic plan?
So our security department is not because I've managed them also, but I may be a little biased, but they're one of the best, right? They're led by Levi Holmes, our executive director of security, a former 20-year Newark Police Department employee, retired. And we do training with our staff. We have security guards in all of our schools. We have 8 resource officers. We don't place them in the school, but they patrol, and that's probably one of the people you saw respond when an incident occurred. And we have technology that supports our schools. We have metal detectors. We have bag scanners. And we have wands in our school. We have a visitor management system called Lobby Guard. We can check people at the desk and know should they be allowed into our schools. We have, we're fully compliant with Alyssa's law, where there's a one-time panic button that we can notify the police, and we have cameras. We are in the process of upgrading our camera system. I was on WPIX last week talking about that, because a lot of people are asking questions. Why are you putting cameras in? What are you doing with them? And cameras help us and help our surrounding community, right? Absolutely. Because they're not just inside the school. We're not there to violate people's rights. We are there to ensure that our children are safe. And I'm happy and I'm proud to say that we have been successful in deterring a very bad or difficult episode from occurring in our schools. Because we work at it every day. Every day. It's not just today. And, like I said, I have a high school that has 27 doors. So we have to have alarms on the doors. We have to have, locks. We have to have all of those things. So we are doing it.
Wait a minute. What school? I mean, because I'm a product of the Newark public school system. What school got 27 doors?
I'm not going to tell. I can't tell everything. It's safety and security, Mr. McBride.
It's probably Barrage. I don't know. But this don't answer. I don't want you to answer. I'm going to go back to one of the corny references on Abbott Elementary, because that's where I'm at, Abbott Elementary, because I love the show. So the episode where the young man came in and he wanted to buy the school, it was a public school that all the employees worked at, and they wanted to buy it and they wanted to make it, a charter school. Mm-hmm. How real is that argument or discussion, and how does the board deal with that when something like that comes into play?
Well, in New Jersey, charters are considered public schools because they're different models around the country. So in New Jersey, they're considered public schools. They are their own local education authority, LEA, right? So they have their own administration and everything, but their funding comes through the district. So how they impact our budget in terms of the money comes to the district and then it follows the child to the charter. So right now, our charter bill is really this year's budget, next year's budget, you will see $353 million going towards charter, directly on the charter line.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to add, I wanted to kind of lead into it, but I'm glad you brought that up, because other people that have their children in public schooling, that they might have access or really can't get into a charter school. How does that work? Does it, because it gives the impression to some that, you know, they get preferential treatment over, I guess, the other schools. And I know schools are different. I know I went to Barringer because it was in my district when I was younger. I know things have changed. How
Yes,
does
they
that
have.
work?
We have a system called Newark Enroll, and it is our enrollment center that allows parents to go in and select the schools they would like their children to attend. Of course, we have certain standards. You know, there's ranking of the students who apply to make sure you're a fit for the schools. There was a time when I could say to you that the charters were participating in our enrollment system, and, you know, parents could pick either one. Starting this year, several of the charters have decided to pull out. So right now, I think they're creating their own enrollment system, but we still have ours. So you can pick any school across the district. You were zoned for Barringer before, but now it's not like that. I want to do Teacher Academy, so I need to go to East Side, but I may live up in the North Ward. That's okay. Right. I can choose to go there because it has the program that I want, and I compete to get in. You know, schools like arts, schools like science also have additional types of, you know, things that are required for admission. But for the most part, our children have, our parents and our community have the ability to go wherever they choose.
Sounds
good. So with the charters, we're entering a new phase. We're sort of in flux right now as to how they're going to get their students into their schools. Because when they were part of the system, they were able to pick the charter and they would be assigned to that charter. So there was no, that was designed to prevent preferential stuff from happening. You know, the lottery was no longer happening. So that all children, whether they be gen ed, special needs, or bilingual, or whatever the designation, would have an even opportunity to go to any school within the district.
Okay. Let me ask you, you went to CUNY, you went to one of the schools in CUNY. And CUNY, to me, it's almost equivalent to an HBCU because it's a community-oriented undergraduate institution. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for a graduate of CUNY. A lot of my friends come out of the CUNY system. When you came out of CUNY, and I think you went and got your master's, when you initially started to work for the Newark Board of Education, where did you start?
I started, Newark is sort of my second job. Newark, I started in September of 1996, and I came here as your food services director. Okay, because I have a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Dietetics.
I can see that.
I had originally worked for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey in the World Trade Center for 18 years when I came to Newark.
Wow.
So, and I had done employee feeding there. I had done other kinds of management and was moving into like facility manager type situation. So managing the Lincoln Tunnel, the George Washington Bridge, Staten Island bridges, that kind of stuff. And this opportunity came up and I came to Newark. When I got to Newark, there were some very dynamic people, Superintendent Bolden, Deputy Superintendent Nelms, and they felt, oh, we think you'd be a good BA. I had no interest in being a BA, but running food services, which is a large operation, it's over 400 employees, over $40 million. You deal with unions, you deal with everything. They prodded and encouraged me to become a business administrator. So I went back to school, took the courses that were required, got my certification, and the rest is history.
Good for you. Good for you. Because at the end of the day, I think that most want you to win, because their children's future depends on that. So we want you to win. I want you to win, and that's why
I came to Newark not because I had to. I was pretty secure in my job, but I came to Newark because I felt that I could make a difference and that I could be an example for kids because at that time I was a single mother. And my daughter was, I wanted children like her to have a role model that they could see somebody who works every day and who makes a living and does it well and is
Yeah.
committed to that. And
Nice.
I
Nice.
fell in love with Newark, so I stayed
It's hard not
28
to.
years.
It's hard not to. It's hard not to.
It is. It is.
Oh, we got time for one more question. I actually have another question. I'm being selfish again, but
That's
I would
okay.
like to I would like to ask you, what message would you have for parents coming in about voting this year? What message do you have for them? Matter of
Okay,
fact,
it's
don't answer that yet.
important.
Don't answer that yet. Hold on. I'm going to give you another. I'm going to give you my selfish question first. So I
Okay.
started that you had you were focusing on foreign languages or whatever. I just want you to consider Mandarin, and I'm only saying that because of what's going on geopolitically in the world
Mhm.
and everything that's
Mhm.
going on. And that doesn't mean that we're going to deflect and work with China, but it just means that we need to understand the language of the aspiring superpower. So, Mandarin is something that you should consider. That's
We
just my personal.
we do. We had a program at the old Oliver Street at one point where we were teaching Mandarin to younger kids. We've done dual enrollment
Nice.
programs, bilingual, which we've started. Maybe haven't been as successful as we wanted to be. We've got global studies that has the Arabic
Yes.
component
Yes.
with regards to that. It is something that we look at continuously and are working towards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you're looking for a consultant, we can talk after we get off the phone, off the
Okay.
Zoom.
Okay.
But the last question, what would you say to parents, for this upcoming election? What are some words of encouragement that you would give them?
Parents always want to be involved. As parents, we are committed to doing what's best for our children. And in
Yes.
order to do that, we must be engaged. We must be active in our children's schools. We must be active in the process. And one of the ways you engage is to vote. Newark still has the opportunity to vote on its budget. Districts had an opportunity a couple of years back to move to a November election. Newark chose not to do that. So by voting in April, you still have the ability to vote on your budget. And you mentioned an abysmal number at the beginning, that only 2.87% of our population in Newark comes out to vote on the school board election, right?
Yeah.
But that has to change. Newark has to become active in its school board elections. They must vote on the 25th, and they must vote yes for the budget. Not because I present the budget or it's my job, but it's a good budget. It meets the needs of the schools. And, there's a piece on there that a lot of people don't understand. There's a question, a ballot question with regards
Right.
to the tax levy. We are not increasing the tax levy for the third year in a row. Now, don't get too happy because at some point we're going to have to increase it because Newark is still underfunded, both on the state side and the local side, right? On the local side, we're underfunded by almost $60 million. So we have to eventually raise taxes. If you want to do things with capital, you may have to do it through a tax levy and through, bonding, right? But somebody has to pay for that, and usually it's the citizens. So they vote yes on the budget, and they vote yes on the ballot question, because this year it will say to you that the levy will be $138 million. That is not a new levy. That is what is in the budget right now, and every year you have to vote to carry it forward. Under normal circumstances, you would have two ballot questions. You would vote on an increase in the levy, which would be a 2%, so we'd be at like 141 million or so. But this year, you're voting to maintain the levy. You can't cut the levy out, because if you cut it out, you're going to have a $138 million gap in the budget, and we will have to cut in order to do that. So they're going to vote for the levy, 138 million. It's not new money. It's in the budget. Yes. And you're going to vote yes on the budget. And most of all, you're going to vote on the 25th of April.
Got you. Got you. Well, it's been a pleasure having you, Ms. Wilson. I've learned some things. I'm going to have a even more keen eye on Abbott Elementary when I'm looking at it on Wednesday nights. But thank you, thank you, thank you. And just to remind our viewers that we have an election, April the 25th. No need to have only 2.87% participating in the process. We all need to participate in the process. Yes.
And let me remind you, you pick 3 board members in the election. 3.
Yes.
So you have to pick 3 board members. We have 2 incumbents running, and there's a slate of people trying to get on the board who are running. So all total, you have to pick 3.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So go out. It takes you 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes to go in there and take that pencil and scratch in that vote. We also have a midterm elections coming up, and at the end of the year, we're going to have a governor's election. So people, please get involved. Understand that the things that you see going on around the country could easily impact us here, because the world is changing. The world is changing, and people feel as if they need to act in a certain way and vote in a certain way and take over certain sections of government. And we're seeing that all over the country with these boards of education. So people, please get involved. I want to thank our guest again, Ms. Valerie Wilson. I wish you the best of luck in this position. And hopefully you all will tune in for our next and last segment coming up next Monday. So we'll conclude, and thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
It's been my pleasure. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yep.